Okay, so today I'm going to do a noise cancelling headphone tier list based on the ANC headphones that I've tested. Obviously, I haven't tested all of them, but I have tested a lot of them, a lot of the more popular models, and also a lot of the high-end ones. So you'll be able to see kind of how some of those stack up to the rest of the competition that you might be more familiar with. In recent times, I've been traveling a lot more, and so I've had many occasions to actually use these products, these ANC headphones, while traveling or just out on the go. And I think that's something we don't talk about enough. So I'm going to do that here in this video. And I would very much like to test more of the ANC headphones. So if you don't see the headphones that you're interested in listed here, definitely drop that in the comments below so I know which ones to try and get in for testing. So without further ado, let's get going with the ANC headphone tier list for 2024, because we will probably do this again at some point. Now, just as we get going here, as usual, all this is made possible by headphones.com. If you like what we're doing here and find it valuable or useful to you in some fashion, consider headphones.com for your next audio purchase. Some of these headphones you may find available there. But as usual, I have not been paid to say anything in particular about this, and all thoughts and opinions here are my own. Now, I want to start this off by giving some criteria for how I am judging this tier list, judging these products. Because we have to remember that noise cancelling headphones are not just sound delivery devices, they are also noise cancelling devices. They all have an app, well, not all of them, but many of them have an app that they integrate with all kinds of different features. And also the use case, the use condition for these products is very different from sitting at home listening to headphones, you know, being a stationary boy like I typically am. So my criteria for ranking these products ultimately, at least in this video, comes down to how likely I am to recommend these products to a friend or a family member. And let me be clear that for anybody who is interested in sound quality first, like that's your primary focus with headphones, I'm unlikely to recommend any of these because you can get far better sound quality than all of them with passive wired headphones and even in-ear headphones. So just keep that in mind, that while noise cancelling headphones have gotten better, they are not the pinnacle of sound quality in headphones. There's an entire world out there of passive headphones that are going to sound significantly better than all of these. But as I've said in a number of other recent videos that I've done, there's absolutely a use case for these products. And they are ones that I do typically recommend to my friends because, let's face it, they don't really care as much about, you know, the sound quality as I might. So that's my criteria. And if you disagree, well, you're just wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I just had to think about these products as a whole and give a more comprehensive judgment about them. And it's just ultimately up to whether or not I'm going to recommend them to my friends. That's really it. So maybe you guys can be my friends. Yeah, I don't have very many friends. Let's be real. Okay, but with all that out of the way, let's get going with the tier list here. So, in no particular order here, let's just get started. The Sennheiser Accentum, which is the first one on the list here. So I'm kind of lumping the Accentum and Accentum Plus here into the same category because while they are different and they do cost different, they're very similar. And my issues with them, my criticism of them are going to be the same. It's that they're too clampy and the ear cups are too small. Like, unless I'm considering somebody who I know to have a small head and ears, I'm not going to recommend this headphone because it's just ergonomically not great at all. The sound quality is pretty good. It has a hole in the upper mid-range and lower treble, depending on how you define that. The noise canceling is okay, and the feature set is also pretty good on the app. So if you're the kind of person who has a small head and ears, this one would be higher. But for me, this one is a C tier. I don't think I can give it higher than that, given its issues with ergonomics. The Airpods Max from Apple. This one is a bit more on the expensive side. I believe it's around $550. The Airpods Max actually has some of the best quality bass out of all these products. A lot of these products, sort of a theme with these ANC headphones is that they go for this really bloated, muddy, overbearing bass for many of them. But the Airpods Max is one that doesn't. It has strong, powerful, good quality bass, but it's also clean and doesn't crowd out the mids. Unfortunately, it's the mids that aren't very good on this headphone. It lacks ear gain, and so it lacks a lot of that clarity and comes across a bit more on the muffled side. Still, if you are the kind of person who is fully into the Apple ecosystem, there's a lot of features here that are desirable. So it does integrate well with that, and you can make use of any of that sort of immersive audio that they do. And the noise canceling quality is also pretty good. I still don't find it very comfortable. It is a bit too heavy. It doesn't quite fit for me on my head. I wish they'd done something different with the headband given the weight. So This one, I'm going to put it into C tier. I know, again, this is one where like if you are an Apple user, and I'm just trying to think, I do know people who are Apple users. For them, I would rank it a bit more highly. But again, for most of my friends, I'm not going to recommend this headphone over some of the other ones. And if you own this headphone, I see it everywhere, and that makes you mad, well then just deal with it. If I had sunglasses, I'd be like... Okay, moving on to the AKG N700 NC Mark II, if you can still find this headphone. So the sound quality here is actually very good. The noise cancelling is not great. The ergonomics are okay, but the build quality is also not amazing. This is one, though, where I am going to recommend it, specifically because it has an app that is better than everything else here on this list. Its app actually does allow you to customize the frequency response to your heart's content. It has a parametric-like EQ function there, and the rest of these don't. So even though you can customize some of the other ones, you usually can't input the specific values you might want to change. So this one here, the AKG N700 Mark II, if you can find it again, I am going to recommend it. It's also not as expensive as some of these other ones, so it's a pretty easy, straightforward recommendation, and one that I am highly likely to recommend somebody buy if they can find one. Okay, and speaking of 700s, we're now onto the Bose 700. This is a bit of an older one, but I believe you can still actually find this in a number of different places. How do we feel about this one? So this one is ergonomically pretty good. It's not super heavy. Its noise canceling quality is also decent. Its sound quality is okay. The treble gets a bit weird in a couple of spots, especially in the lower treble, but for the rest of its response, it's not bad. I'm going to put it in C tier, but ahead of some of these other ones because it is more ergonomically good. And for travel purposes, for flights, for long sessions, if you're on a bus for 8 hours, yeah, I'd rather be wearing that one than some of these other ones. Now we're on to the Bose QC 45. This one is, again, I believe it's a bit older. I did not like this headphone very much. I found it to be sibilant. It's very comfortable, and the noise canceling is good, but I found the sound signature to be really quite sibilant. So when you're listening to vocals and you hear the S's, F's, and T's come across, I found that to be a bit too sharp and harsh. So that one, I'm going to put it ahead of the Accentum because, again, it is more ergonomically good, but behind the Airpods Max for now. I may rearrange some of this in a little bit once I take a look at kind of where things landed. But for now, Bose QC 45, it's in C tier. I don't really recommend it, but it's not terrible. All right, now the Bose QC Ultra. This one is an A tier. This is a very good noise canceling headphone. When you first get this headphone out of the box, the sound quality is actually not great. It has this massive, overbearing, thunderous, really bad quality bass, but they put the bass shelf function in the app in the right spot, right at around 300 hertz, and that's where the bass shelf starts for this headphone. So you can downshelf it and completely curb that, making the mid-range and treble come through a lot more clearly, and it is clear. So the mid-range quality is a lot better. The treble is a bit uneven in a number of spots, but you know, for its wideband balance, which most people are going to focus on, that's what's most perceptually relevant, it's very good. So after downshelving the bass by a bit, this one does get quite good for its sound quality and for its use case, for its function. Very good noise canceling, extremely comfortable. I had a blast using this on several different flights, and so I am likely to recommend it. It's also easy to fold up into a case, easy to travel with, so it's a good headphone. Not amazing. Again, it can do better, but it's decent. Now we're on to the less expensive Bose QuietComfort. This is the Refresh. And I did get several different units of this one in and found that both of them had meaningful channel imbalance, both perceptually and measured. So as much as the comfort was good and the noise canceling was pretty good, this is one I have a bit of a hard time with because of its, I mean, it's called the QC, but I think it should stand for quality control because, yeah, unless I just got, unlucky twice, this one, I'm going to have a hard time recommending it. So I'm going to put it in C tier. Not really recommended. It's not the worst thing here, though, because, again, for noise canceling and comfort, it's good. And if that's all you care about and you just want something on a plane, yeah, it would do the job. Focal Bathys. All right, so I'm going to put this in B tier. This is a headphone that I actually do use on a regular basis. I've done a video about this. The Bathys is a headphone where its noise canceling quality is okay. Its comfort is also pretty good. but it is a little bit heavier than some of these other ones. So it's heavier than the Bose QC Ultra. And the sound quality here, okay, so some of these headphones are geared towards noise canceling and features, and some of them are geared towards sound quality and sort of that audiophile crowd. And the Bathys is one of those that's aiming more for that audiophile crowd. The way that the treble is handled here is more articulate and more engaging than many of the other ones on this list. The reason it's not higher is because this is a headphone that has a feature at around 1.5 kilohertz that can shift quite a bit depending on the listener. So the pad deformation on these makes it so that if you have a different shape to your head, it can enhance this 1.5 kilohertz resonance. So for some people, it's going to be a bit more colored in that range. And also, because it's a little bit heavier, if you're taking this outside, again, the way that many of these products are intended to be used, and you walk around a bit, because it's a bit heavier, and the way that the pads sort of conform to the side of the head, it does kind of move around a little bit, and this has an effect on the noise canceling. So for people who are specifically looking for noise canceling headphones to take outside or to walk around with, this would not be the right choice, in my opinion. If you're just stationary with it, that's not an issue. But these are some of the reasons why, for people looking for noise canceling headphones, I'm not as likely to recommend this one as I am some of the others on this list. The one standout thing about the Bathys that I do have to mention, though, is that it's one of the few noise canceling headphones that actually has ear cups and ear pads that are big enough for human ears. I can't help but notice this, but like a lot of these, like even like the Bose QC Ultra, the ear opening is so small. And with the Bathys, it's a bit more normal. I mean, I wish that it were even bigger than that. I have big ears, but like it's better for that, and it actually feels like a proper over-ear headphone, whereas a lot of these kind of feel more like partially on-ear because they crush the pinna into the side of the head, and I don't like that. So with the Bathys, it's more comfortable for that part of it, for sure. So anyways, B tier for the Bathys. If you're an audiophile and you don't really walk around all that much, then maybe this would be higher, but again, it's hard to predict how this is actually going to behave on people's heads for that 1.5 kilohertz feature, even though I think the rest of it is pretty good. So let's move on. We're now to the Mark Levinson 5909, and this is one of the more expensive noise canceling headphones. It's around $1,000, and the sound quality here is actually quite good in comparison to the rest of them. It's a bit extra sparkly at around the 10 kilohertz region, but for the rest of its balance, it's very, very good. So the bass is clean, the mid-range comes forward with a lot of clarity. Overall, it's really quite good for the sound quality, just with a bit of extra sparkle up top. My issue with this headphone is that it does not integrate well with its app. Like, the app is really quite poor. It's extremely limited and basic for its functionality, and it's also heavy and not very comfortable. So I'm going to put it in B tier, again, for the audiophile, the person who cares a lot about the sound quality. This one is a good recommendation. I'm looking at this. I'm like, do I put it ahead of the AKG? Yeah, I'm going to put it ahead of the AKG for now. But keep that in mind that, like, for long listening sessions, I'm not going to recommend that one because its ergonomics are problematic. The noise canceling on it is okay. But I wouldn't say that's a limitation on it compared to some of these other ones, but some of the rest of the integration just isn't quite there with this headphone. Like, it has a bass shelf function that you can adjust, but apart from that, if you wanted to change anything else, you couldn't. If you wanted to change that treble feature, sorry. Now we're on to the Sennheiser Momentum 4. This one is probably the headphone that out of all these I am most likely to recommend. I haven't gone through all of them yet, but as of right now, this one is in A tier. And why? Okay, so if I think about like what a noise canceling headphone is supposed to be for, it's going outside, walking around, and being on the go, traveling, that kind of thing. And for that, this does a great job of being comfortable. Its ANC performance is okay. It's not as good as the Bose QC Ultra, but it's fine. But the sound quality is way better than most of the headphones on this list. Like, the sound quality here is one of its standout features. Now, the bass is too much when you get it out of the box, similar to the Bose QC Ultra. But you can attenuate that a little bit in their app, and the app is very good. So the app integration is one of the better ones. Their platform for this is good. And so for all the rest of the things, if I think like, yeah, all of these headphones involve compromises of some kind, this one, in my mind, makes the smartest ones out of the ones that we've gone through so far. There's more still to go through here, but definitely A tier. And it's one that if I were to just choose out of all the noise canceling headphones, that would be on the short list. Again, not to say that it's better sound quality than the 5909, for example, or even the Bathys, just that for its function, I feel like it is a more appropriate product. All right, let's just put it that way. All right, now we're on to one of the newest ones that's come out, the Noble Fokus Apollo. This one is interesting. So the bass quality on this one is better than most. It's got a very clean and distinct, yet still punchy and sort of dynamic and impactful sounding bass. Bouncy bass. It has a really distinct bass profile to it. So the bass doesn't bleed into the mids, or it's the opposite of that sort of like muffled kind of boomy sound that you get from some of these other ones. Most of its response, it's kind of almost like this W-shaped sound signature with a bit of a forward character around 1 kilohertz. But there is a fairly narrow resonance at around 3 kilohertz. It's not fatiguing overall, but occasionally there's this glare or etch to it because of that 3 kilohertz resonance that it has. So for the sound quality here, it's a bit of a mixed bag. It's good for certain things, like I do think the bass is some of the better bass out of all of these, but there is that, fine-grained resonance there at around 3 kilohertz that I feel should be improved upon if they can. The other aspects to this headphone, I do find it to be reasonably comfortable. It's not as light as some of these other ones, like not as light as the Bose QC Ultra or the Momentum 4. This is one that is, again, a little bit more geared towards the audiophiles. And when you're walking around outside wearing this headphone, I found at least that like it's heavy enough to where it would move around a little bit on my head whenever I would like step. Like, I don't know, that's a weird thing to say, but just walking around outside causes the ANC to be a bit weird. And you can actually hear that as you're moving. So it's fine if you're on a plane, fine if you're on a bus, but actually moving around outside, walking around outside makes it one I'm less likely to recommend to a friend. All right, now the Sonos Ace. This one goes into D tier for me. Like, the issue with the Sonos Ace, okay, it has this really weird resonance in the lower treble. Like, for sound quality, this one it's not the worst on this list, weirdly enough, but it is not good. The noise canceling is okay. The ergonomics are okay, but the mechanical design here is also really weird, such that like it doesn't feel like it properly fits on a head, on a human head. I guess it's a bit hyperbolic. It does fit on a human head, but the way that the cups kind of angle in just feels not quite right on this headphone. And then, yeah, like that lower treble resonance, it's quite audible and kind of ruins the experience whenever I'm listening to this headphone. I did not like this one very much. I feel like a lot of people didn't like this headphone when it came out, and I think that that's appropriate. They need to do better. All right, now we have the Bowers & Wilkins PX8, which is also a fairly expensive one. This one goes into D tier as well. Okay, let me back up. I reviewed this headphone, or I did a video and included this headphone, and the frequency response, like the sound signature, was like the worst thing that I'd ever heard. They have made improvements through firmware updates since then, or at least it seems that way. So it's not as bad as how it was when I first heard it, but it's still not great. Like this to me, when I have a pair here right now and I've been reevaluating it with the firmware update, it still sounds categorically low res to me. It has some weird colorations in the treble and in the mid-range that just really don't work for me. Weirdly, its wideband is not bad. Its wideband is considerably better than the Sonos Ace, so maybe I should put it ahead of that. The bass, though, is, again, this really woolly, bloated, muddy kind of mess. And it does, thankfully, in its app, have the ability to kind of reduce that a bit. So just like the Bose QC Ultra, it has that functionality. But when you do that, it reveals just how weird and colored the rest of the response sounds. Again, this is just to me personally, but it's still just not something that I would be able to recommend to anybody. With the exception of, it looks great. This is easily the best looking ANC headphone, in my opinion, out of all of these. Like, if this was a judgment about, how these products look, which again, like, I'm probably not the right person to be making that judgment. I mean, come on, like, but I love the way this headphone looks. It feels really premium, but the sound quality just doesn't match at all. Its standout feature is how it looks, not how it performs in any real way. And I know there are a lot of people who have this headphone who are definitely coping online about the fact that I just said that. But like, man, I mean, this is one of those products where even on paper, like, it should be better. But just using it again, and I keep coming back to this, like, would I choose this over any of these other products? And my answer is still no. So D tier for the PX8. All right, now we get to some of the more, I mean, this was already controversial. So now we get to something even more controversial. And it is the Solitaire T from T+A. I actually have it right here. This one, all right. This is an ANC headphone that costs $1,700. So it's definitely aiming for that high-end crowd. Yeah, I mean, it goes into D tier for me. Why? All right. So the sound quality is actually not bad. The sound quality, like, they've clearly gone for a more neutral sound signature. A lot of the rest of these products go for a kind of V-shaped or like store demo mode kind of sound signature with, you know, massive bass and maybe some extra treble. That's not really what this one goes for. This one's aiming for more of a neutral kind of sound signature. And you can see that in the measured response as well. But I still find it shouty. So it sounds glary to me and a bit shouty and not as good as some of these other ones up here, like the 5909 or the Momentum 4 even, to me. And that's because that ear gain range, that 3 kilohertz range, roughly, kind of dominates over the rest of the response. So it doesn't sound as, I think, resolving as maybe it should, as what they were going for here. Now, here's the thing, though. I'm ranking this here with the recognition that they did try to index heavily for sound quality. And even though the sound quality is not for me, that's not why I'm putting it here. I'm putting it here because the ergonomics, the ear opening is so small that it kind of always seems to deform the pinna. Like, it crushes the pinna, certainly the backside of the pinna for me. They have, you know, made it for people who care a lot about sound quality, clearly. But I think they need to go back to the drawing board as far as the mechanical and ergonomic design, because it just doesn't fit on human ears. The other reason why it's lower here is the noise canceling quality here is not good. I tested this in comparison to some of the other ones, and in comparison to many of the other ones on this list, this is actually worse noise canceling quality than most of them. So for a noise canceling headphone, again, it's like a little bit of attenuation there. Certainly in the areas where it counts, right? The low frequency stuff is where most of the issues would be. If you have tons of money, yeah, I would say look at it and consider it, because maybe it won't be shouty for you. And the sound quality here is better than many of these. For all these other things that these products are meant for, this one does not live up to par, in my opinion. All right, now we have the Sony WH-1000XM4. This one, gosh, it's either C or D tier. You can find this on sale. I believe you can find it for like just over $200. It's a bit of an older product, and that's why. The noise canceling quality on it was pretty good. The sound quality was bad. Just really V-shaped with weird and uneven mid-range. And yeah, just overall sounded very disjointed and incoherent and not good at all. If all you cared about was just tons of boomy, bloated bass, then fine, but not one that I would really want to recommend for sound quality to anybody. But for noise canceling and for comfort reasons, I would. And so for going outside, this is probably higher on my list than some of these other ones. All right, now we have the Sony WH-1000XM5. This one is a bit higher. They did improve the mid-range response a bit, but the ergonomics are worse than the XM4. Like, the top headband piece is a bit thinner, and so it's not quite as comfortable. It doesn't distribute the weight quite as well, but it is not heavy. And the noise canceling quality on it is also pretty good. So I'm going to put it kind of in line with the Airpods Max here and some of these other ones for different reasons. Like, the bass quality on the Airpods Max is better than the XM5, but the XM5 is not as heavy and is more comfortable, so it's a bit of a trade-off there. I would have a hard time really recommending either of them. Which one would be more likely to recommend? There are things I like about the Airpods Max more, but I'm going to go like this. I'm going to put the Sony XM5s ahead of the AirPods Max just because I think it is a bit more appropriate again for these types of products, because they're meant to be used on the go. They're meant to be used out and about. And if you are not in the Apple ecosystem, I'm more likely to recommend the XM5 over the AirPods Max. And again, they did improve the sound quality over the XM4. All right, now this is the Final Audio UX3000. This is, I don't even know if they're making this anymore. If you can find this, it's interesting. The sound quality here is the best out of all of these, or one of the best. I'd say it's up there with the 5909 for sound quality. But no app. It is made of not great feeling materials. The ear cups are too small. The noise canceling quality is mediocre. So am I likely to recommend it? Yeah, yes, with the certain conditions. If you just want a simple basic product to throw on, not care about an app at all, and you don't care how nice it feels, you don't care too much about its ANC quality, I would recommend it because the sound quality is good. Ultimately, C tier, because again, I have to keep in mind, this is for people who want noise canceling as a core part of this. App integration, it has no app. But I do think for the price, if you can find one, it's worth considering. So like, it's funny because like I could put it next to the AKG N700 and say like, you know, both of these are worth considering. But the AKG N700 has an app. Ultimately, this goes in C tier for the UX3000, but it is a good sounding headphone. So just don't sleep on that if you care about sound quality. The Anker Space One. No. So this one, I didn't actually review this one. DMS did the review of this one. Check out his video on it. Apparently it's popular, but this is one where very little consideration was given to its overall balance and the sound quality. This is a bad headphone across the board. The fact that people buy this and then rate it highly is a good indication that like people don't really care that much about sound quality, but I do. So I'm just going to put this in D tier and not think about it again. And now we have the Audeze Maxwell, which is not an ANC headphone and therefore is disqualified from this ranking, so I'm not going to rank it. But it is far and away the only one that sounds good. Okay, like some of the other ones sound okay, but the Maxwell obliterates all of these in terms of sound quality, and it is not remotely close. I'm placing the Maxwell in S tier here kind of as a joke because, again, it has to be disqualified because it doesn't have noise canceling. But I just want to make it clear that, like, as far as like goodness of product is concerned, none of these are up there, right? Like they all have things to work on. They all have things that they can do better on. Even the best ones that I'm most likely to recommend here, like the Momentum 4 and the Bose QC Ultra, they have things that they can work on. Momentum 4 needs to have better noise canceling. The QC Ultra needs to even out some of that uneven presentation for the ear gain. Like there's a bit of a resonance there at around 2 kilohertz. They need to do a bit of a better job there. For the Bathys, I'd love to see them improve the consistency from head to head for that feature at around 1.5 kilohertz, because for some people, it's going to be not great and uneven sounding in that range. For the 5909, they may have gotten the sound quality really good, but they got to improve the ergonomics quite a bit, and just the integration with the app and the features, it's just really not great there. I wish everyone would make the ear opening bigger so they could actually fit on human ears, because not all of them do. So that's really the thing. That's what I want to leave you with here, is that like all of these noise canceling products, they need to be better, right? And that's why I'm on a mission to find actually good noise canceling headphones. And there are other ones still for me to test. Like I know there's ones from Dolly that a lot of people seem to like. And so they're on my list. If I can get access to one, I will immediately jump on it and review it. It's hard to get those ones here in North America. And I just want to leave you guys with like my recommendation overall for whether or not you're going to buy noise canceling headphones. If you care a lot about sound quality, I recommend just buying passive headphones or in-ear headphones. You can get a lot of really good stuff for a lot less money than what you get here with these noise canceling headphones. If you really need noise canceling, like you travel a lot, then some of these are going to be pretty good for you and good for that purpose. But it's important to know that you are leaving certain things on the table. And here's the crazy thing. these products, for the most part, all use some kind of digital signal processing. And so they can be so much better. Like if the Audeze Maxwell has shown us anything, it's that you can have really good sound quality in a wireless headphone. And, you know, the rest of these kind of have some catching up to do in one area or another. And so I'd like to see that happen. I know there are challenges, but I think they can be overcome. So let's get on it. Let's get on it. All right, that does it for this video. Again, let me know which ones you want me to test next for the noise canceling ones, because I am on a mission to find actually good noise canceling products. And it's also because I am traveling more these days. And now that I'm sort of ANC pilled from having gotten a chance to try these on flights, it really does, like, the benefits are not lost on me. So I want to find some good ones. Let me know which ones you guys like in the comments below, and I will try to get them in for review and have all of your purchases validated. No, I'm just kidding. But that does it for this video. Once again, if you guys want to connect with me or other like-minded audio people, check out our Discord link below or our forum, where we will have likely threads on many of these headphones. And yeah, until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye for now.